how many of you already are in B2B? How many of you already understand what B2B is in design specifically? So I use the chat probably to tell us. So are you in B2B? Do you know about B2B? If yes, then please just type yes. I'm waiting. Yes. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Is there anybody who doesn't know about B2B? It's okay to say no. You'll only be able to understand more if you say no here. Otherwise, the level of the talk will go over your head. Not in design. Okay, cool. Thanks, Rahul. Um, this is what I wanted to know. Cool. Okay, okay. Cool. So I think most of the people already know about B2B. Very few of you don't know about B2B. So we'll cater to that as well. Let me present my screen and show you guys the presentation. Okay, cool. Can you guys see my screen? Arindam, can you confirm? Can you see my screen?
Is visible.
Okay, cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So, the topic of this talk is very big, and there are too many things happening here in the topic itself. So let me break down the topic first, and then we will get to the rest of the things. Okay. So I am talking about design in general. I'm talking about B2B products that is specified. There is a big difference between revenue growth and measurable ROI. In revenue growth, the aim of me writing revenue growth in this topic was to tell you guys basically how can you think from the business perspective of getting more money into the company. Okay. And the second part, which is measurable ROI, this is nothing but a lot of times you might have seen that people in different teams, specifically like business teams, C-level folks or director level folks, question a lot about design. How is design valuable? How will you generate ROI from this? What value is design actually giving? Can you actually measure it? This is that section. Okay. So we'll cover a lot of things, but before we do, because this is Friends of Figma Kolkata, I would like to say good morning, Kolkata. Is it good morning or is it afternoon? Okay, it's good morning. Yeah, fine. आई एम नॉट श्योर कि मात्रा ठीक आई है यहाँ पे या नहीं आई है या फिर ये डायरेक्ट ट्रांसलेशन है या नहीं है बट आई कैन एटलीस्ट अंडरस्टैंड ये क ल कोलकाता लिखा है आई थिंक सही होना चाहिए बट यस सो गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीवन थोड़ा लोकलाइज करना चाहता था इस सेक्शन को बट before we begin the topic of design, B2B products, and whatnot, I would like to jump back to June 1942. This was the time when World War was going on. And 6 months back before this, Japan had entered US in Pearl Harbor and attacked their naval base. Okay. Now, Japan, because it attacked US, also tried to retaliate. And वो लोग बीच में आ रहे थे सी के and that is where an island is there. It's called Midway Island. And I'm going to talk about this Battle of Midway Island. This is a real story, by the way, from World War II. And the fight for Midway was that because it was at a very strategic location, that island was at a very strategic location, it would control a lot of offense for the war. So if Japan had captured it, Japan would be far more offensive than US. If US would have captured it, US would have been far more offensive at at Japan. And what happened was uh, there was a big fight. But let me break down whatever happened there. Okay, so there are two sides. One was US, one was Japan, and there was some communication between each of their vessels. Right, of course, there was some communication, and everything was encrypted because, of course, war is going on. Right, so Japan's communication was tapped in by US, but it was not told to them that they had already tapped them. Like they kept it like a secret. Okay. And what happened was US knew that Japan is going to attack them at some point of time. Okay. And Japan right now, because doesn't know that US already knows this, they are coming in or in full swing and they are very happy that they're going to attack and they're going to win by a surprise element. And that is what happened in June. So they suddenly came out of nowhere. US was prepared, of course, but not that prepared. But yeah, I mean, they came, they started fighting, but US, because they knew that Japan is going to come with so many aircraft carriers, what they did was they prepared 4 or 5 of their best divers who carried bombs and then planted them on the naval base, sorry, the aircraft ships of Japan, and they blew them. Okay, one of the US ships, the bigger aircraft ships, was destroyed, but four of Japan's aircraft carriers were destroyed. So Japan technically lost that offense, and now because of that, they had to fall back, and then the midway, the island which we are talking about, USA captured. But why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because I want to relate it to design, and I want to relate some sort of a philosophical way, you could say, some sort of a meaning, metaphorical way, you could say. I want to relate both the stories of how design and revenue and how this war that happened, this particular battle part that happened is related to each other. So imagine each ship to be the user interface. Without user interface, nothing exists in the sea, right? It's all non-existent. With an interface, a user can, of course, interact with things and work with it. But what is far more important than UI in any company, in any business that you see? It's the matrix. It's the business. It's the money. So today I want to raise this question, and I want to sort of answer it because I'm raising this question. Can design speak the language of revenue? Can we talk about money? Can we talk about business? Can we talk about other things and still prove value to our leadership because of which we were hired? See, there's a very common trend of different companies hiring designers just because their investors force them to. But that is not the true hiring method, right? I mean, a lot of companies don't answer that why. Why do we need a design team? Yeah, अच्छा दिखेगा, hire कर लेते हैं, इनको मना देंगे कुछ ना कुछ. But that is not the true value, right? There is some sort of value, there is some sort of impact that is created out there, right? So yeah, I'm going to talk about that. But before that, let me introduce myself. Let me talk about who I am and give you a quick, brief history about what I've done so far, and then probably jump back into the topic. Okay. So, hi, I'm a designer turned founder. श्रेष्ठ नाम तो सुना ही होगा. नहीं सुना तो देख लिया होगा अटेंड करने के पहले. But yeah, so I was born in a place wherein there's this very interesting saying called "पहले आप." This is Lucknow. And then I shifted to a different place, which was totally opposite of this, which is Pehle Main, which is nothing but Delhi. I am right now in Delhi, based out of Delhi. And I did my bachelor's in design, specifically product design, but I worked in different domains. I worked in furniture, I've designed furniture, I've designed toys, I've designed automotive trucks, to be specific. But all this while, I was always that guy who was very technical, who wanted to do something technical. And that is one of the reasons why I started working at this place called Flightbase. And this was into drones. So most of my professional experience as job, you could say, is drones, even today. But then something happened and I quit. What happened was I got tired of working for everybody, working in a startup. I wanted to do something of my own, and I did not have much clarity about what I wanted to do. So I quit my job. I packed my bags. This job was in Pune. I kept everything in my car, and then I drove all the way to Delhi. So I traveled. I traveled, met a lot of people. They're still there in my life. Saw a lot of places. This was one of the best traveling experiences, solo experiences that I've had. And when I came back, I started mentorship. This was in ADP list. And I was doing mentorship before that, but I did not have that much time. So I thought, why not give this time? Meanwhile, I figure out what I want to do. I started building a community. There's a community called Open UX in Delhi. It's not that active anymore. Everybody has gone their own ways, but it's one of the biggest communities in Delhi NCR, more than 2,000 people. There was a point of time wherein more people wanted to join, but they couldn't because of their WhatsApp limitation. Um, but yeah, I did that. एंड उसके बाद फिर थोड़ी-सी फ्रीलांसिंग करी। बहुत ज़्यादा तो नहीं करी, थोड़ी-सी फ्रीलांसिंग करी। फिर मैं थोड़ा बोर हो गया था कि व्हाई डू आई वांट टू डू इफ देयर इज़ नथिंग लॉन्ग टर्म एसोसिएटेड विद दिस, इट्स जस्ट लाइक अ शॉर्ट टर्म प्रोजेक्ट। Why do I do that? So, meanwhile, while I was running that community, in one of the meetups, I met a guy called Pranav. He runs this design NGO in Delhi, and we teach design to people who need design. These are college students basically, and yeah, who can't afford all these things. But yeah, I mean that's a good thing that I sort of did. I'm still doing that right now. Change the position from teaching to growth. Right now, I'm the VP of growth there. I am also going to teach very soon, starting next weekend, I think. But then something significant happened, and I decided to find my own company, and that is how Osiflow came into the picture. Okay. Right now I have a team of a small team, but a mighty team of four people, including me. But yeah, that's my journey. That's who I am. So yeah, but coming back to the topic of today, why you all are here, basically. Today's agenda, I want to cover a lot of things. I want to cover everything from the basics so that Rahul, who's new to B2B, who's not in design, also understands how to uh, whatever we are talking about basically today. But to others as well, we will get slightly technical as well. So Rahul, bear with us till then. But yeah, I've been very careful in terms of creating these slides. I have tried not to put any jargon, any product jargon, any business jargon in this. Of course, there are a few terms here and there, but all that is in FigJam that we'll come to later on. Okay. I've created some templates as well that you guys can take away. Um, and you can get started with whatever we talked about today, because a lot of times these talks just remain like talks and then people go away and they don't do anything. So want to keep this actionable, um, and yeah, we'll get to it slowly. So let me start by saying what my goal today is. It's to nudge you in the direction of you thinking how you can think about business as a design, basically. So I'm going to talk about those two specific things, of course, which are the topic. But my goal is just to nudge you. Even if I nudge you 1%, even if you tomorrow think about, or day after tomorrow, think about that business aspect while you're doing your job or while you're building a portfolio or whatever you're doing, I think I've sort of achieved my goal. Okay. Now, coming to the topic why we are here today. What do you think is the value of UX? Is it just for fun? Do you think people do UX for fun? We are all doing jobs for fun. No, we are not. It's the only thing that can be technically proven, but it's still not proven in today's date. And we can do that through numbers. Okay. So it's not for fun. It's definitely not for fun. It's something which is related to business. And it does make business sense. And that is why it is there in the equation today. If it were just fun, or if it was like a TT का game, maybe, I don't know, very random example here. तो मतलब हर कंपनी की टीटी की टीम थोड़ी होती है ऐसे, या फिर स्क्वाश की टीम या फुटबॉल की टीम थोड़ी होती है. And there's some business sense associated with the job, and it comes with a lot of seriousness, right? So again, everything relates back to business, right? It relates back to numbers. So that's what we'll talk. Okay. I want to break it down before I get into those specific things. I want to talk about how UX goals, how business goals, and user needs have a lot of things in common, and there are intersecting elements. But one key thing that all three of these have is the revenue impact zone. This is the only zone for us as designers in terms of whatever we do on daily basis that actually makes impact to the revenue. I'll take a step back. I'll try to explain something which was explained to me when I was taking a webinar a month back of somebody who is a business person. And she said, her name is Simonetta, she's based out of Germany. She said that money from the customers is the only money that remains in the company itself. Investors and everybody else who's putting in money want their money back. And as designers, when we come into this picture, our focus is very, what do you say, वो हिंदी में कुछ कहते हैं ना, हॉर्स हॉर्स वाला जैसे फोकस होता है कि मैंने सामने देखते रहो कुछ ना इधर उधर मत देखो, है ना? So it's that. And at the end of the day, yes, I understand that UX, I understand that design is there to empathize, it's there to build for the user, but it is also there for business goals, right? And I think this part, revenue impact zone, is something which is missing from everybody. If not everybody, 99% of the people in design. So I want to challenge that. I want to talk about that today. And one of the insights that I found over time was that we haven't adapted that particular mindset that we need. So, my today's insight to you is please adopt that revenue first mindset because that is what every designer needs. Now, how do you do that? When I say that you start a project with growth KPIs, I specifically mean start with matrices. It's there in the next slide as well. But start with matrices kept in mind. Think about those metrics first, and then see what you want to design in your job. Next is align every design choice to a measurable business level. If your design is not measurable, tomorrow, if somebody comes from C level, like a CEO or a CMO or I don't know, chief design officer comes to you and asks you, why are you doing this? You won't be able to explain it. And even if you did explain what you are doing and how is it useful, it won't do anything as long as it doesn't pull that business level. And the thing with design is it is very far from numbers. It is very far from numbers because there is no direct relation between design and that number directly because there are a lot of things in between. A design has to be developed and then the developer is started pushing it. So technically the developer was the last touch point when the final design came. So it's the developer's job as well. Then there's the marketer who says that I want something like this on the website. I want something like this. It was his strategy. It was her strategy, their strategy basically. So yeah, it has to pull a business lever and you have to basically think what business lever is it actually pulling. And one more thing which I wanted to talk about was ROI. A lot of times I've seen that people put a lot of efforts into design, perfecting designs, which doesn't even reflect in the long run and even in big companies in the final production version. So why even do that? Why even put in that much amount of time? So you have to understand it. Of course, it comes with experience. Of course, it will come guided to you by somebody else, but still cut down UX wherever it is needed. You don't have to create that perfect experience. In today's world of AI, you can focus a lot on perfection because you already have those basic things, but still cut down on things which will never get developed at the end of the day, is what I'm trying to say. And you will eventually save that return on investment. So, return on investment is basically how much time you're putting in, is also that invested money which the company is putting in to create that particular output, right? So, yeah, ROI can definitely be improved by these cost saving techniques, like basically cutting down on timelines. And I think us designers, live in a bubble. And the problem with that is we don't see things outside. I'll repeat my point again. There are a million things other than design which are a part of the company, which are functioning. And we need to break through all of them and then create some sort of value which is measurable. So please quantify and prove those UX wins. How do you quantify and how do you prove those UX wins? Change the mindset of you being, yes, I have designed this something which is really amazing for the user, to I will also explain it through numbers. Okay. Take a step back because everybody knows that whatever you are going to design is totally empathetic. It is for the user. It is a given thing, right? I think it's now is the time we take a step up and then talk about how we can talk about business. In today's age, things are also changing, right? Because of AI. And I'm not sure if I read it or it was like my subconscious mind that's sort of saying this, but in the end, I sort of feel that there'll be like this product role which is left, a product builder who is both an engineer and a designer who's thinking about the business and also thinking about marketing. So everything's coming to a merge point, right? And now is the time we focus on what we don't know so that we are able to get there. Of course, coding is there, but a lot of us are already uh, engineers, right? And we can understand coding over time, and we're not even sure if coding will remain up there after like 10 years or so with the advancements that we've been having. So, yeah, that is there. Then, of course, I mean, this is just that repeated point. You have to track those numbers that are changing over time and then present them to your stakeholders. Now, this is the same point. Won't repeat it again. But a lot of times when we are chasing those numbers, no, when we are chasing those KPIs, what happens is a lot of dark patterns are introduced. Let me give you an example of this. Have you ever been to websites where there are pop-ups that come which say that do you want to subscribe to our newsletter? And you want to say no. And usually a lot of times this is what I read out on NN Norman as well, that a lot of times those CTAs are very, very negative. Oh, you don't want to do that, something like that. Oh, I don't give a shit. And a lot of times people nudge towards yes just because they don't want to sound that rude or want to look that rude. So that's a dark pattern. And why is that dark pattern there? It's only to increase that number of conversions that are happening, the leads that are being generated through those subscribe button. If you look at Instagram, even Instagram today, of course, it has introduced those timers and stuff, but their goal is to keep you on the platform as long as possible, right? So those are some dark patterns, and everything is happening just because it's like a cascading effect, like a domino, that we want to increase one number, and that is what happens. Teams focus a lot on those numbers and sometimes go unethical in unethical ways. So my urge to you is please avoid it as much as possible. There will be times wherein your leadership will put in pressure on you to make those changes, to make just push that. If we have to give that 10%, we have to increase that 10% conversion rate to 12% conversion rate. So you do whatever you want to. But it is our responsibility to say no or find out a different way to solve that problem. Of course, we'll be forced sometimes, but at least keep that ethical side of mind in your hands. You don't know how many decisions you are changing in a person's life by creating just one button. That one button, that one scroll, that one experience, that one page, one section could have a very different effect on different people. And if you're designing for a scale up or a company that has like millions of people under them, there is far more pressure on you than you think because you are affecting a lot of decisions. Very recently, I'm not sure how many of you have seen Instagram launched that maps button, right? Like you can see the location of your friends on Instagram. And I was reading the news, and news said that people are very scared about how protective that layer is. And they're scared that their privacy is going away. So this CEO of Instagram, he's there on Instagram, he's very active on Instagram. He had to put out a post just with that screenshot of saying, "Okay, we are not forcefully putting out your location, but we are allowing you to select what to do." And एज इट मे सीम, मतलब जैसा दिख रहा है वैसा है नहीं, मतलब मेरे assumption में तो, बट हो सकता है उन्होंने सही इंटेंशन से बनाया, बट दैट डिजाइन wasn't that ethical, or that design did not follow a path wherein a user felt that comfort, that they did not have to raise that question, is this even happening or not? So yeah, there'll be times that comes, but use data to inform decisions, not lead designs. Okay. What this means is use understand that data, but take those decisions in, irrespective of that data, thinking of the user also in mind. You don't have to just push up that number just because you'll get more business. Okay. And how do you do that? You start with a hypothesis, you validate it, you challenge it, and not dictate it. Basically, you test it. That's what this thing is saying. You test it with users. You see that whatever empathetic side of things you were trying to solve is getting solved. And then, of course, analytics with stories, basically how you push push something with quantitative. If you push something with quantitative data, it'll get pushed at the end of the day. So yeah, I'm going to move on to a case study right now, and it's going to get slightly technical. So don't get scared, or don't run away because it's getting technical. But yeah. Okay. I've also created this file on the community. I'll share the link with you. Don't worry about that. But yeah, this is the file that will get shared to you. There's like this intersection. There are different links to me, the hosts that are there, their channels, our channels and stuff. You can have a look at it. And yeah, follow us if you like, or connect with us. And this is the section that we're going to talk about today, specifically this case study. We're going to talk about two case studies. The first case study is what we're going to talk about right now. Okay. Um. Okay. Let me focus on the screen. One second. Mhm. चलो कोई चलिए. So again, going technical, don't worry if you're not getting it. Just understand as much as possible. बाद में देखना इसको, जब link मिल जाएगा तुम्हारा, ठीक है? But the case is talking about a SaaS CRM trial पे पेड का कन्वर्जन हमें इंक्रीज करना है. बेसिकली एक बंदा है जो ट्रायल के लिए आया है सीआरएम पे, SaaS के लिए, SaaS वाले प्लेटफॉर्म पे, और उसको पेड में हमें कन्वर्ट करना है. एंड दैट इज व्हाट द प्रॉब्लम इज हैपनिंग. For the context, the background story, the environment in which this is built, we're talking about a mid-market CRM platform which is now competing with big products. And when you're competing with big products, even small percentage changes matter a lot. Okay. सो द प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट इज दैट ट्रायल से पेड जो कन्वर्ट होता है ना, वो 12% पे अटका हुआ है पिछले 6 महीने से. मतलब आउट ऑफ 100 पीपल, ओनली 12 get converted averagely in the past 6 months. And there is a sharp drop off rate after a fourth step in the entire process of when they are coming to the dashboard. Okay. This is why that number is not getting increased to 12, 13, 14, 12.5, whatever it is. Okay. And and the sales team is putting pressure and saying that whatever marketing qualified lead, MQL is the term, if you want to know that specific term, we want those people to basically increase at the end of the day. So yeah, this is the story. I will explain you ऊपर से क्या हो रहा है. In the first step, you're creating an account, users creating an account. They may not invite people. They may connect. They have to connect to integrations, and they have to import contacts. But in the fourth step, what is happening is there are three mandatory fields that people have to fill. And when they are filling it, they're feeling like I'm doing too much work and I'm not getting much value out of it. And that is why they're dropping. So this is the point of time where they're getting that aha moment, but they're never reaching this point because 6 minutes has already passed. Okay. So this is the story of what is happening. Again, coming back to this 12% conversion over, and then there are a lot of support tickets that are raised during onboarding. If people feel like, nah, I'm not getting much value, but they have still heard about the platform, they may contact support and say, कि मैं what do I do about this? So 300 number है अभी जितने लोग reach out कर रहे हैं per month. So what do you do as a designer now that PM has come with this context to you? What do you do as a designer? You go for hypothesis. You say, yeah, how might we solve this problem of decreasing this time? So yeah, you say we want to reduce the steps, we want to increase the conversion. You, out of a lot of ideas, you choose this. Okay, assume you choose this. Then you do that design intervention. You would say, "Ki, yeah, I'll reduce it to four steps. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll switch, change the language and stuff." And then you finally test it out to 50% of the people, and you monitor it. Okay. Now what we as designers do, we get a brief. We say, yeah, okay, we want to solve this. We find 20 solutions. Out of that, one has the opportunity to get designed. So we do that and we design that solution and give it. Done. This is where our work stops. But that's not what we should do. We should look at the complete picture end to end, also understand how business is working basically. Well, this is what PMs usually do, and this is where we are also merging slowly with the age of AI. So, yeah, I mean, talk about that, understand how your design basically increased that 5 percentage points, how that 12% now got converted to 17%. So that tomorrow when you say go ahead and say कि मेरा ना onboarding अच्छा नहीं बना है, तो I want to change that, and instead of your manager or your business person saying why do we want to do that, they would agree with you because you're talking in numbers. And we have the second case study, which is like a potential case study. When you're going to your stakeholders, when you're talking to them, how can you talk to them so that they allow you to do that project? Okay. So yeah, that is there. And then of course, I mean, these are all just numbers just to show you how you can say this is what you basically present to your stakeholders in a way that they understand. You say that $60,000 of quarterly gain was gained just from the design that I did for 2 weeks. Okay. When you say this versus when you say, yeah, I reduced the onboarding process, I optimized it, I reduced the number of steps, and now the conversion has increased. Well, who would that business person listen to more? They would listen to this guy more. No, this person more. So yeah, speak in these terms. Try to look at this concept again when I give you the file and understand what you can do in your case. And we also have some templates. I'll explain it to you later. But yeah, coming back to sorry, this. mm, 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 yeah. Yeah, I want to talk about some common mistakes that we do what I've seen basically happening when people usually start talking about business and design. There's a difference between measured metrics and return on investment. And it's like saying, "Ki, I have some data, I have now measured it, and this is and what people usually say is, yeah, this is the ROI. But that is not the case. ROI is like a holistic term. It has a lot of moving elements every now and then, and everything sort of affects this in like a pyramid sort of a format, and measured matrix is one of those parts. So assume measured matrix being converted to something else like a converting unit, which is then converting into return on investment. You have to do some calculations to get to that. You can't directly say कि मतलब ये हो गया. Next is don't let data blind you. This is what I said earlier also when I said कि मतलब नॉन एथिकल वे में जाते हैं लोग और ऐसे ऐसी चीजें बना देते हैं. वैसे नहीं करना है. मतलब understand that data is only there to support your claims. It is not there to finally make a decision just based on that. You have to empathize. You have to see that data as well. Of course, you can make decisions on data. That is why data is there, but then it has to be in synchronization with that empathetic angle, with that context of what you're trying to solve, and that opportunity cost as well. Next, don't design just for users, design for business as well. That is one of those like main takeaways you could say you can have from this call, that think about numbers as well. Okay. Now I want to give you quick tips to put whatever we've talked about into action. Speak the language of business. Okay. You can do that very easily today in ChatGPT or even in Notebook LM. In ChatGPT, there's a section called, there's a, would you, what is it called? I think study and learn, mm, something like that. When you press plus, the drop down that, sorry, the pop up that sort of comes, you can select study and learn through that, and you can have a conversation with ChatGPT on that. And also in Notebook LM, there's a new feature on the right hand side um, called Make a Video. You can now make a video with giving context to it. So you can what you can do is you can upload all your product requirement documents. You can upload all your design documents, all your designs there, and then say how is this basically affecting business? How is this design affecting business? And Notebook LM will make a video and give it to you. It'll be like a beautiful video of like 2 minutes. It takes some time, like 5-10 minutes, but yeah, you'll get that. Second is transition from a product input person to a product doer person. Now, this is where we sort of zoom out, where we say, yeah, AI is coming, and there are a lot of changes that are going to happen, and there will be people who will be product builders who will be left in the space, and you have to beat that. Instead of just giving like inputs as like a designer, you have to do those things. You have to put things into action, right? If some of you are planning, which I've seen a lot of people do usually, and especially these days, is if you are planning to make a switch to product management, this is the way to go about it. Um, you should talk about those numbers that we talked about. You should talk about those terms that we talked about. MQL की बात करो, ARR की बात करो, MRR की बात करो, and stuff. Okay. Next, this is, I think, one of the main things. You have to design whatever you're designing. If you don't think of that matrix before you start solving that, at the end of the day, you won't have any result other than saying कि ये मैंने design बनाया था, ये बहुत अच्छा लगा. When you look at senior portfolios, their descriptions on LinkedIn, if you go, you will find out those numbers because that is what actually matters at the end of the day. The more senior you get, the more numbers you will start dealing with. Okay. So we'll come back to one more case study. Yes, here. We'll come back to this case study. This is basically he assume you're in a situation where you have to design something. This was where you were given a brief. The one previous one was where you were given a brief. This is where you're going to design something. Okay. And when you're going to design something, there is a different conversation you need to have. Okay. So I won't get into the details of this because this will get too long. But basically, the point is there was some sort of churn that was happening, and you had to basically work on that and improve that. But to talk to your marketing manager, you will have to go and talk to your business people. You will have to go talk to your CFO folks, and you will have to get those numbers in order to be able to understand the context and then relate the problem and the solution that you're trying to give to that context, and then of course propose a solution. So yeah, basically you basically talk about a lot of things. How are you going to change that design and how that design is going to affect those numbers? Okay. These numbers you'll only be able to calculate once you're sitting with a product manager, or if you're working in a very small company where there are no product managers, you're sitting with a business guy. If you're working in a very big company, usually the finance guys, the CFO guys are the ones who would be able to help you out with this number. But before just designing stuff or before just proposing designs, if you go with this and present it, there is like, I'm not sure, like 99%, but there are very, very high chances, like 80-90% chances that your design, whatever you're trying to propose, will get accepted. Okay. So, yeah, that's some basics of the case study. Go through this, and if you have any questions, of course, I mean, reach out to me. But yeah, and other than that, I again coming back to this starting point, which I had started off with. Design is creating value. It is creating that impact, but you'll only be able to talk about that impact if you relate it to numbers. And numbers is nothing else but business. Okay. There's a term called UX maturity. UX maturity is basically how much value do your company people give to your designers, you as a designer, your other people as a designer, and stuff. So, this, if you talk about numbers, if you talk in the way that I've told you to, even like a sentence or two, your UX maturity will increase. And the more UX maturity will increase, the more decisions you'll be able to make on your own without getting that permission from the senior level folks that are there. So yeah, I'll give you guys this template as well. This is the template. Yeah, basically this is the template I was talking about. That value impact zone that you guys have, which is common across your context, your problem that you're trying to solve. Um, in the second one, this is basically how do you rephrase whatever you are trying to do into a business language. Basically, something like if you say, I want to redesign, please, you go to your chief design officer, chief marketing officer, chief business officer and say, um, I want to redesign our software because there are 20 different design systems I have to maintain. What you do is you change that language slowly with, of course, these steps, going through these steps, but say that, yeah, there'll be 25% financial gain over the next 2 quarters, and we'll cut down a lot of costs because we don't have to work on 20 different design systems. And this new design will probably help. So you're just rephrasing whatever you're trying to say from this to that, but yeah, in a different way, basically. So this template will help you do. Then, of course, this is the last template, which is basically talking about how you can talk about in those return on investment ways. And then, of course, I mean, whatever tool you use, you can that and you get started. So yeah, that's the template. If you have any questions in any of these templates, do let me know. Yeah, but other than that, there is nothing else in this. Um, yeah, go through the links. If possible, do support us. We also, like personally, me, I do a lot of sessions. We started off something called Orbit by Osiflow. These are fireside chat conversations with people all around the world. This is the link of the YouTube video which we uploaded yesterday. We had to upload it at 5 p.m., but we ended up uploading at 5 a.m. because I did not know that YouTube doesn't understand AM PM. It goes on that 24-hour clock. But yeah, I mean, pretty stupid, but it's okay. Yeah, and we have a content calendar also here if you want to see. And of course, please do connect with your hosts if you haven't already. Um, they're putting in a lot of efforts to, organize talks like these. And yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I was sorry. I was about to say, I think this way, but I'm not sure. Uh, but yeah, I think thanks. Open to any questions. Yeah. Shivan is asking me recording. I'm not sure. I don't know. Do you want to take that? Your mic is off if you're trying to speak. Oh, okay. Any questions about the session? Could also be something other than the session as well. I'm here to answer whatever you have, whatever questions you have. कोई सवाल नहीं है सबको सब कुछ समझ में आ रहा है क्या सही समझाया मैंने you guys sure don't be hesitant if you have any questions ask anything when we start as a designer we almost all lack the full business perspective yeah very true um I think this happens a lot especially because design is usually in India at least it's treated as an art and the moment it's treated as an art you're not taught those things you don't interact with all those things but yeah please try to understand as much business perspective as possible that'll sort of help you out okay next is how do we incorporate metrics in portfolios for newbie designers oh you could so this is a very good question because at the end of the day you haven't made an impact yet. So first of all, it is assumed that when you say newbie, I'm assuming that you're a fresher who doesn't have any experience at all. Okay. And when you're doing that, it is assumed to be that way. So when we are taking interviews, we assume that okay, this guy is new, so they don't know all these things. So yeah, I mean, don't have to put in numbers as such, but but we have ChatGPT now, uh, and through God's grace and AI superpower, we can do anything we want. So you can put up your scenario and potentially create a what do you say, a sandbox. If you know what a sandbox is like a testing environment, you can say, and talk to it and then see if you can take out a number and then very specifically write down that this number was generated by ChatGPT with this context in your portfolio. So probably one of those pages, if you're making a PDF or if you're making like a web page, you can have like a section which talks about this. So yeah, that could possibly help. How to get around that? Oh, how to get around this? How, yeah, I mean that's what the talk is about. You have to understand that perspective by doing those things. मतलब there was a slide if you remember, I'm not sure. उसमें लिखा था ना तुम प्रोडक्ट इनपुटर से डूअर बनो. तो think about what type of things you want to implement specifically in terms of numbers, what all resources you need for that, and then start talking in those terms to people. If you don't talk in those terms, if you don't think about those terms, if you don't like go through these exercises and stuff, you won't be able to come to that final conclusion. Yeah. Next is, do you offer? Yes, I do offer mentorship. However, my schedule is extremely packed. Um, it's there on ADP list. You can try to book a call, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to take that. So once you book it, I'll only be able to see my calendar. It's extremely packed. Like I said, now I'm having these sessions every Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. So I have a session right now today as well at 3:30. So uh, uh, for a new designer, how can I design and present numbers with UX? I think this was sort of answered with the ChatGPT thing. Does logo design count? In what essence? In numbers? It's very hard to put a number on a logo, by the way. You can only put a number on the intention, the TAM, if you know what TAM is. TAM is like a total addressable market. Where are you going? If you understand that business and stuff. So that is why branding goes right from like what 10, 20,000, sometimes even to like crores and crores of rupees. Like I think Coke's bottle, if I'm not wrong, Coke पड़ी है सुबह सुबह ज्यादा मत करना मुझे. But Coke's bottle, the Coke, I think Pepsi branding जो थी, they invented all this shit wherein they were trying to relate gravity, Earth's gravitational pull to how their logo is designed. So yeah, I mean that happens. Um, does logo design count? Yoga. I feel like we should read some more business related books that could help us as a designer, right? Yeah, you can suggest some kind of books. I'm not sure about books. I will definitely say you should read at least those leadership lessons that Simon Sinek gives. I think those talk at a very basic level. So I think most of your queries will get solved there in terms of those first principles. But yes, I don't know what, I'm not much of a books person, but I am a case study sort of a person. That's why I made those case studies here today. Um, तो या मतलब जितने केस स्टडीज पढ़ोगे ना उतना ज्यादा तुम्हें समझ में आएगा. आई कांट सजेस्ट बुक्स ऑल्दो आई इन दिस लिंक क्या हो गया. I have put out two links. These are the core of how basically this, even this talk, for example, today was sort of structured. मतलब पहले जो बनी थी उसके अंदर काफी सारे ना टेक्निकल टर्म थे तो मैंने रात में वो हटा दिए थे. And I came to very basic level sort of things. Go through these links in resources. It's there just above templates and below those case studies. Um, yeah. Next, great will trial and error. Okay, cool. What skills beyond design can be learned or worked on for a designer working in B2B? What skills beyond design can be learned or worked? See, at the end of the day, I think, see, my assumption might be wrong, but at least this is what I'm getting at. after reading two, three articles as well, this was confirmed that in the long run, we won't have these small fields like design, development, or product manager. These are all just bridges that the time needed that we are in right now, that is now going to be bridged in one particular role now that AI is here. And at the end of the day, we're going to have those product people who are also strategy thinkers, who can code to a level which isn't required that much, who can also design to a level. They have that understanding, and those product people are the ones who will go forward. So to answer this question, I would say try to grab as many fields as possible within your. Yeah, don't just think about design anymore. I think understanding of those fields is very necessary, especially coding in this today's age. Even I feel so. I am very bad at coding. There was a time in school when I was like the topper at the seventh class. But उसके अंदर coding नहीं हुई. But now I feel like I should understand, because at the end of the day, whenever I'm on Lovable and stuff, no, I end up doing something with ChatGPT. So yeah, I mean probably that. Um, business तो ऊपर नहीं है. My contact number, I can't give you my contact number. I'm sorry. Try reaching out to me on LinkedIn, probably, or ADP list, not sure. Is a product designer different from a UI UX designer? If yes, how? Yeah, product designer thinks more about the product holistically. They don't think there are times when you have to shoot down user interface and user experiences just for the benefit of the product. That is what I was also trying to say today, that things are going to one direction. So yeah, there are times when they shoot down the lanes. Logo design, as in how I compile it with numbers and it affects on business. Yeah, I mean, I again, like I said, you can't. It's very hard to put a number on a logo. Even today, whatever branding projects that we do personally in our agency, in our studio, they are also very hard to decide on. But yeah, I mean, you decide what value that person is finally getting from it. So yeah, I think since most of the design gets discussed around under mobile first design or B2C led products, I feel like what kind of leads to negating B2B product, it's also very important here. Yeah, it's complicated हो गया. I think since most designs get discussed around mobile first design, okay, I feel like something. अच्छा, हाँ, B2B छूट जाते हैं. हाँ, मतलब yeah. Also, one of the reasons is you won't find many B2B products outside. The reason is that they're very टेक्निकल एंड वेरी ट्रेड सीक्रेटी. मतलब वो ट्रेड सीक्रेट्स होते हैं कंपनी के, वो इतने बाहर नहीं डाल सकते. तो यू वोंट सी मेनी प्रोजेक्ट्स लाइक दिस. एंड B2C तो ऑफकोर्स सबके हाथ में है. तो हाँ, नेगेट तो नहीं हो रहा यार. बी मतलब if you go around, I don't know, at different places, or at least for example, me, when I go to Gurgaon and I look at like different buildings and I see these names of big companies on big towers, I somehow sense that okay, they are there somewhere. We just don't know about it, and they are earning so much that they are there in such big places. So they are all B2B companies. The world is filled with them. So yeah, no problem. Thank you. No problem. Good. All right. Let me stop present. Oh yeah, I mean, let me give you guys the link to this. Um, I think it's published here. Mhm. Wait a second. Mm, Let me a bit. Yeah, it's here. Yes. Go ahead. Yes, here. Just putting out the link. हाँ, मैं एक बार व्हाट्सएप पे ज्वाइन करके भी फिर तुम्हें डाल देता हूँ. यू कैन गो थ्रू दैट एज वेल. एंड या, नो प्रॉब्लम. All right, thank you guys. Thanks for connecting. I just have a small request. If you did like this, do connect with us. Especially, I need a lot of support for Osiflow that now that we're starting off. So If possible, go through our LinkedIn page, our Instagram page, or our YouTube. Our first video is also up and live, and we have more events coming up. So yeah, if you can support us in some way, please do. Yeah, sure. Oh yeah, it's called First Pixel Project. Um, um, First Pixel Project. Here is the link to that. Not sure how big their website is. Yeah, but yeah, cool. Okay, all right. I think we should have a in-person meet with you so that we can get to discuss more of these things. Yeah, I'm not in Kolkata. I'm in Delhi, specifically in Noida. Um, कोलकाता आता हूँ मैं मैसेज करता हूँ ग्रुप पे तब करते हैं मिलते हैं और if you are in Delhi do let me know we can plan something cool all right thank you so much guys for joining in